Hi there, it's Lizard from Isurus, and today we're going to be looking at an AB box by Lehle called the Lehle Dual SGoS. SGoS stands for second generation of switching. But I was looking for an AB box for when I was building my main rig, and I wanted something that was MIDI controllable and could have at least AB, but preferably ABY capabilities. And I was sort of looking at lots of different things in the market, and after lots of research I found Lehle clearly made the best device, so that's what I bought. There's a lot of reasons why this is very good, and I'll sort of explain them all. So if we just look at it, it's a really solid metal chassis, it's built brilliantly, and you've got 3 foot switches, so you can use this just on a pedal board and switch manually, but for me I had it inside a rack with a MIDI cable connected to it, and it was working via MIDI, so my MIDI foot controller was controlling this as well as everything else in the rack. This is just showing you the Lehle in my rig, so this is just switching via MIDI, so changing with everything else, just switching between the 2 amplifiers. You basically have an input which can then go to any of 3 outputs, A, B and what they call T, because they think that most people use that as a tuner, and the reason that it's primarily used for a tuner is because it's the only one that isn't transformer isolated. So A and B are both transformer isolated, so there won't be any ground loop issues with 2 amps or whatever, whereas the T section is just straight out, so if you send that to an amp you could end up with ground loop issues. A way around that would just be to put something like an EBTEC hum eliminator or any kind of transistor isolating unit on that one, and then you could essentially have 3 amps. You've got 3 big bright different coloured lights for each of these, and you can have it, they can all be on in any combination. What I was having was, over here I had my Rocktron Prophecy preamp as a clean channel, or mostly my clean sounds, and my Marshall, which is always overdriven, was in the B. So instead of changing channels on my Marshall or changing the patches and stuff, they were both always running, I'd just switch between which one was getting an input, or both of them at the same time, and there could be complementary patches that work together. And that's where another really good thing about this comes in. On the A and B, which are your main amplifier lines, you've got a trim pot, and these are for when both are on together. This is the balance between the 2, because obviously if you have them both on, they'll both be, it'll kind of double or whatever your volume depending on how each one's balanced. So there's the possibility, if you want, to be able to cut a bit off both of them, so combine the levels better, which is a really cool feature. And some of the other good features are really sort of in all the ins and outs really. So you've got your ABT in, you've got an A in, which is just, if you plug anything into this, it will just go directly out to the A amp without any of the switching being involved, which could have its uses. Then you've got your A, B and T outputs, so they're your outputs, your 3. And then you have a ground lift and a phase reverse button here, so that's all very useful if you can encounter any issues. And this here is the input jack for MIDI, and for Lehle's MIDI system they work interestingly with TRS jacks, so you just have to wire a TRS jack to a MIDI DIN connector in the right way, and then it receives the MIDI information like that. So instead of having a big MIDI knob, they use this system, and if you use a lot of Lehle's products, they can daisy chain just with standard jack leads then, which is really cool, and control each other. Another great thing about this, you can probably see here, is the input is 8 to 20 volts, which is really useful. So it means you can use kind of almost any adapter or use any power supply with it, so it just makes it really flexible, which is very, very cool. There's not a lot to say about it other than it's a switcher that just works flawlessly. I had no ground loop issues with it. It's really, really easy to save presets. Basically you just on your MIDI controller you'll select a MIDI patch, and then for that patch it'll be ready to learn, and you use these little switches by the lights to set it up and store what state you want this foot switch to be in for that particular MIDI patch. So it's really easy, absolute piece of piss to set up patches. And then you could also, if you did have it on a pedal board, you actually have physical foot switches that you could use instead. I've been nothing but impressed with it. It's built like a tank. These, I've taken them out because I've had it mounted in my rig, but these are for some rubber feet, so if it's on its own. They're not cheap, like I don't remember exactly, but somewhere between 200 and 300 quid I think. But they're really high-end, brilliantly working devices, so they're worth the money. So yeah, that's it, the Lehle Dual SGoS, awesome ABY switch. See you later.